Good boy. You are a good boy.
Hey, Michael. Oh, hey, you have a new pet?
Yeah. This is Creepy Monkey. He's from our show. I thought I might pet my monkey for a little bit. That's naughty. I'm gonna spank that monkey.
Oh.
Spank you. You so bad. You mean. I do not. I'm sorry. I don't like spanking my monkey in front of you like that.
It's the Speaking Nerdy podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Shilley.
And my good friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Poe.
So it's going to be that kind of show tonight, huh?
Yeah, that was... Yeah. I was going to do something else, but then I saw a Creepy Monkey over here, and I thought, let's do something classy. Hey, Rob Moore, thank you. Man, we hadn't seen Rob in a long time. Boy, I'm glad you're here,
Good
sir.
to have you.
Man, let's give it up. Let's give this up for Rob. We miss Rob. Rob, we're glad you're with us tonight. Well, maybe the afternoon for you, or I'm not for sure.
Whatever
you're
time
at,
it is over
whatever
there.
time it is over there. We're glad you're here because we definitely, we need friends. We're lonely. So, thank you, sir. I'm glad. We're glad you're here.
And at some point, we might have the Florida man here.
Yeah, we had
Daryl.
And Daryl, yes, Daryl McCarty, who actually our Star Wars correspondent, and he's somewhere.
They're both having some technical difficulties.
Having issues, yes.
Rob says it's 3 p.m. there.
3 p.m. Oh, well, that's pretty good.
That's not bad.
We have a big audience in is it New Zealand? Is it New Zealand?
No,
Rob, are you from New Zealand or from?
I thought he was from Britain, from the UK.
No, I think he's from New Zealand, or he's from. I think it was New Zealand.
I get confused on.
I get confused.
Where.
I don't know.
Yep,
I mean,
New Zealand.
I won!
Right.
Yay!
You're right.
So anyway, it's
we
okay.
Have a surprisingly good international audience.
I'm really I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, folks, we've been following the series of the Book of Boba Fett, and last week was Chapter 5, and so tonight we're going to talk about Chapter 5 and
Chapter 6.
Chapter 6. That's right. Last week Chapter 5. This week Chapter. It's so many things are happening at once. So, but before we do that, we're going to do what we like to call some geek happenings of the week, nerdy happenings of the week, happenings of the week, something's happening of the week.
Something like
and
that.
I see our, oh, there he is. Oh, look at that. Enjoying a nice beverage. That's Daryl McCarty. He's our resident Star Wars man right there. How you doing?
Oh, good. Just enjoying my Defend the Empire Cup
well,
here.
Good. I'm glad that you made it. I knew that you and Todd V. I don't know where Todd V is at. I think he's maybe, I don't know. I think he's having a fight with Bill Gates on his laptop.
Earlier, I believe he forced an unexpected reboot.
Yes, I hate that when it happens. Usually happens to me when I have a chili dog. But but tonight we're going to talk about several things of the Book of Boba Fett, but we're going to do some happening.
I've got my blaster out, keeping a little finger discipline here, a little trigger control. Got to watch out for, who decided to show up this week. Make sure he's not going to show. Try to.
That's true. Oh, that's true. There is some surprise this week.
Cameo Palooza.
It was full of cameos. Oh, it was so good.
It's funny though, and we'll get into this in a bit, but it's funny how some of our predictions from last week came about.
I know
stuff
we were
that
actually right about
and I was
few things,
and I was in a couple of them. I was just kind of shooting in the dark. I thought, hey, this would be a neat idea if they did that, and I had no clue, especially for one, that it was actually going to happen. But before we go there, let's do some stuff that's happening this past 2 weeks, and I'm excited about this. Unfortunately, I do not have Paramount Plus, but the new Halo TV series premiere comes out on March 25th. And you know how we always feel about, you know, video games being done in the entertainment industry, but this looks good.
And it's going to be a series, right?
Yes.
Not a movie.
From my understanding.
So maybe that's got a shot because you've got more time to tell the story.
Yeah, exactly. And it looks like one thing I have seen, of course, you know, a lot of movies that has to deal with video games have not gone very well, as we know.
Yes.
But I've seen, and usually for me, some of the video game type of shows and movies, usually fan-made movies are the best that I've seen on YouTube. They did I think this one group did a Fallout series, which was awesome. It had a little bit of humor in it. They did it really well. And that they did a Halo one that was really good as well. I mean, you know, not over the top budget, but what they did was quality. So I'm hoping the same is going to happen here. Of course, this is done by Paramount, and of course, you know, I guess they're working with Microsoft. You know, it's funny. Speaking of Microsoft, so much is happening, especially in the gaming industry. It's something at Microsoft. Of course, they acquired Activision and Blizzard for about $68.7 billion. Now, if you're not in the, if anyone out there is not familiar with all of this, the thing is that Xbox has purchased not only Blizzard, but in the past they've also have purchased Bethesda, and they have, like, you know, Fallout or one of the games, and they produce Bethesda. Several others with Activision. Now they have Blizzard, which is Diablo, Call of Duty, World of Warcraft. That's a big
Warcraft.
Candy Crush, which is a big mobile game. StarCraft, another huge RTS MMO, and Overwatch. These are just really big games, and so it's really a big deal. Now, what's interesting to me, Sony, like a week later, $3.6 billion, they bought the developer Bungie. Now, Bungie, if as you well know, is the previous studio for the Halo series. Now it's being produced by, I think, 345, what's the name of it? 354, 343, something like that, close enough. But studios.
343 Industries.
343 Industries. And so, of course, it's owned by Microsoft.
They're owned by Microsoft or by Xbox.
Yeah, because originally the Bungie were the developers, and Microsoft took them in. And of course, Bungie was the one actually who made the Xbox household name with the first Halo series.
Oh yeah.
Now they're doing Destiny. Now it's interesting about Destiny. A lot of people wondering, you know, there's a multi-platform. Some people are asking, well, does this mean that Destiny will just be an exclusive to the Sony PS5 or PS4 series? And as far as the Bungie developers have said so far, no, it will continue to be cross-platform. And I can understand, too, because there's a lot of money in that, of course, too. And I'm sure that Call of Duty, I'm sure some of these games are not going to be exclusively for the Xbox as well, I think. But these developers can make content that's exclusive to the platform themselves. So those are some of the things that's going on right now. And I find that it seems like all suddenly there's this grab for studios, and I don't know, it'll be interesting to see what's going on in the gaming industry later on, because I have a feeling that this won't stop.
No.
So also too, this week, yesterday came out the Batman funeral scene. It was a clip, and it was about 2.5 minutes long. And did you have a chance to see that clip by any chance?
I did not.
I haven't either.
What's that? You haven't?
I have not.
Yeah, too bad we can't show video on here because, you know, apparently we're not a real media source. But anyhow, but it looks really good. It comes out. My goodness, it's like, what, next week, the week after the Batman?
March 4th. A couple of weeks.
March
4th. Well, right at 30 days.
Oh, really?
Yep, because today's the February 4th, and
That's
it
right.
comes out March 4th. So, but
Also,
I mean, that's right around the corner.
Also, it's Star Wars that we have. That's not Star Wars. Obi-Wan, a new Obi-Wan comic book series is coming out, basically spending the entire life of Kenobi. So that'd be interesting. That'd be something I might take a look at. And since we're going to be talking about, we're going to talk about the Mandalorian. I mean, the Book of Boba Fett tonight. We're going to
the Grogu-verse?
The Grogu-verse, yes. Apparently, Sebastian Stan, apparently he has a big following that wants him to play Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian. We all know that in the last episode of The Mandalorian, we had a very young CGI Mark Hamill playing Luke Skywalker. When they asked Sebastian Stan, he says never say never about playing Luke Skywalker.
It sounds like he would do it if he was asked.
Yeah, and I think there was some stuff going on the Twitterverse, and Mark Hamill spoke up and sounded like he was supportive of that to happening. I don't know. I think he would do really well. There are some similarities there. But
I don't think it's a bad casting.
No.
And honestly, I feel like we're far enough separated from the original trilogy that it would be okay.
I think so.
I think it would be.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's going to be a big deal. Tonight, though, we're going to talk about some more CGI and what we think about it. We have a lot of stuff happening tonight. And so I think we might just get right into it. We have any exciting news that's been going on the past 2 weeks, or we just pretty much cover it?
Nothing too exciting. Free Guy is coming to Disney Plus on February 23rd.
I haven't seen that.
That's a thing. I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it either. So
I've heard good and I've heard bad. Maybe we'll watch it and review it here in the next few weeks.
That sounds fun to me. Well, I guess we'll get right into it, and we're going to talk about this week. That's right, my friends. The one and only.
Should we throw out the spoiler alert first?
Oh yes, let's go ahead and do that. Let's go down to the very bottom of the. You want me to go ahead and do that? You got. Oh,
Mike's taking care of the images, and they're all the way at the top.
Yeah, let's just say I've gotten really crazy about. Yeah. Well, tonight we're going to talk about the series that's been going on. It is The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian's been...
No. It's the Book of Boba Fett.
Sorry, the Book of Boba Fett. That's right. I got confused.
But that's the Spanish version.
Yes.
El libro de Boba Fett.
That's right. Yeah.
Did you even notice that was the Spanish
Actually, I didn't. I didn't even notice it. I thought, man, I wish I would have noticed that.
One time. I grabbed something really quick for the show, like during the show, and I threw it up on the screen, and it was in Spanish.
Hey, just reaching out to that international audience.
That's what we do here. We're very
cross-cultural.
So last week we
cross-special.
Yeah. But so last week we were talking about the. We're just kind of follow up on a little bit of last week, and we'll just talk about it a little bit before we go forward. But last week was Chapter 5 of the Book of Boba Fett. We were Chapter 5. Where in the heck is Boba Fett? Was the title of that. And so, of course, last week we had a whole lot of no Boba. We had, of course, the Mandalorian showed up again, which was we all knew it was going to happen. We just didn't know it was going to happen in a big way. And, of course, just a little tidbit from last week. Yes, he basically was kicked out of the guild. And so the Guild of the Watch of the Guild, something of the Watch, the Watchers.
Children of the Watch.
Children of the Watch. And then also, too, there was some other cameos that came in and some people that came back. Of course, he saw Rita Perlman showed up again. And
it's not Rita Perlman.
What? That is Rita Perlman.
That is Rita Perlman,
yes.
But that's not who that actress is
so,
underneath that image.
That is, I don't know.
It's so funny.
And of course, And he's got a brand new spaceship.
Yes.
Naboo fighter, N1 fighter, is now his Razor Crest replacement. And so, anyhow, and of course,
Rod.
And of course, Fennec came back and recruited Boba Fett, recruited Mandalorian, but then decided, he said, I will join, I will help Fett, but I have to see a little friend first, and that's how we got started. So, we talked about last week some of our, who we thought was going to be on the show. We thought, well, no way this person will show up on the show. But this was a cameo bonanza here.
Yes.
Now, I have to ask you.
Some of them were such significance.
Very significance.
You could barely call them cameos.
Yeah, you can't. Actually, they had a very good, it wasn't really cameos. They had a really good chunk.
Yes.
A chunk of time. And they had so much happen in this episode that it didn't feel that short to me. For me, watching this episode, usually it's like, is it over already? But for some reason, I don't know why, but this episode seemed like it was, I don't know, it seemed like a lot longer, but I know it's the same amount of time.
Yeah, I think there was just a lot of story.
Yeah.
There were just so many different things that they wanted to tell.
Now, since you mentioned that, how do you feel that they weaved it together? Do you think they weaved it together? I mean, the thing is, this is totally, one of the questions I have, and I'm going to go ahead and bring it up now while do you think, I'm asking this question. Do you think the Book of Boba Fett is taking fan service too far, or do you think it's just right? Any thoughts on that?
No, to be honest, with Star Wars, the way this is and because we have so many characters that are spread across so many different shows and things like that, of course, throw in, a fan favorite here or there, somebody new, somebody exciting. Yeah. Everybody wants to see their favorite Star Wars character, especially from the cartoons, in live action. Like, everybody wants to see it. And so to be able to see these guys actually get out there and live action and come to life, I think it's really, really cool. And I think the more you pull in from other pieces of Star Wars and kind of build the universe together, connect everything together, I think the more exciting it is for fans. Like, of course, you're going to have some naysayers and some people upset about it, like, oh, it's too much. It's like, no, give me more. Like, give me all of Star Wars. Like, I want it.
This is all of Star Wars.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yes, it is.
Which I think is
let's take Star Wars and throw it in a blender, and whatever, we'll turn it on way too high, and whatever spits out, that's what we're going to put in this episode.
Yeah,
and exactly.
I think personally, I feel like it felt like a lot of story here.
Yeah,
and it almost felt to me like we're now trying to tell too many stories.
Yeah, I can see that.
I didn't dislike it, and I liked all the cameos, but I almost wish some of them had been shorter.
Yeah.
Either that or extend it to, instead of trying to tell 3 stories in one episode, extend it to where you're only doing 2 in an episode or 1 in an episode. Each and every one of these characters. Instead of just
having 7 episodes, let's do a 10 episode series. I'm with you on that. Feel free to tell these stories, but I feel like they were too long, or too short. They definitely weren't just right.
I don't mind. I don't mind what they did, as long as it's organic. I would love to see all these characters, but I don't want them forced in. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. As long as it's organic and it makes sense to the story, they did a lot. Definitely did a lot. And of course, for Star Wars fans who understand these characters and understand what's going on, I mean, it's very exciting. Do you think somebody coming in who's never been in the Star Wars verse before, watching the Book of Boba Fett in the very beginning, do you think they'll come away going, I have no clue what just happened?
Yeah, because when I saw R2, I did the whole Will Ferrell like fist pumping. I was like, R2D2.
Yeah,
and I
exactly.
was so excited. And so, like, if some new person never seen Star Wars saw me doing that over a void, you know, a little
they would.
Somebody that just goes beep beep boop, you know, on TV. You know, they're going to think I'm crazy. And so I think it's hard to see the significance, but for them to, you know, see that and be like, oh my, like R2's here. Like this is the training site. This is the Jedi training temple that Luke established. Like seeing R2 there, you know, it took it going back to the, you know, sequels and stuff like that.
Exactly.
You're seeing, you know, the destruction at that time of, you know, the temple and stuff, and actually seeing it built and seeing that semblance and stuff like that. That was really, that was really, really neat. Like, and I think for, you know, just like like you said, the, you know, casual fan, you know, I think they may have missed that significance a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, like I said last week, it's funny. A lot of the people that we were guessing that may come on the show, and of course, what's crazy about it is that many of them showed up, and that's what was amazing to me. I thought not just one. I thought, okay, we'll throw out 4 or 5 names that may come out. You know, because last week we all know that, you know, Finnick was trying to recruit, you know, the Mandalorian, and you know, of course, he went to go and he wanted to find his little friend Grogu, of course. And we talked about, of course, you know, Finnick was, you know, they're looking for, you know, they are looking for an army to come against the Pikes. So we thought about, okay, well, who's going to come to, you know, who's going to come in the fold with Fett to be able to help you know, come against the Pikes. So we came up with a bunch of names, and one that I'm really excited about because they've really done a good, I mean, it's like I almost feel like I'm watching a spaghetti Western on some of this stuff. Of course, one of my favorites is, of course, is Cobb Vanth, and he shows up. He's actually in the very beginning of the show.
Yes. And that is a great scene.
That's a great scene. I mean, and his scenes are some of the best scenes, I think, in this episode.
He plays that, like that Western sheriff very, very well. And, even though he's, you know, this is some, you know, galaxy far, far away, you know, like he hits that sheriff mark. Like you see him and you're like, okay, that's a cowboy. Like that's Clint Eastwood, like right there, you know.
Well, I know he's in that FX series, Justified. I hadn't seen the show, but he's really a good actor, and he's been one of my favorite characters since I've seen him on, I believe it was the first episode of The Mandalorian, or the second episode of The Mandalorian. I can't remember. I think it's second. So when he met The Mandalorian for the first time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, this is a great scene. Apparently he comes across the Pikes, and the Pikes are there, and they are, I'm not for sure. I guess they were trying to.
They were doing a deal.
Doing some type of deal right in front of them.
Yeah.
And he kind of he tells the guys, basically, you know, I guess he give them a chance to go away. Of course, you know, just like the great spaghetti Westerns, you know, they have the little, they have the standoff between the two.
Yep.
And of course, you know, it goes all
just go away, and I'll forget all about this.
Forget all about it.
I loved that. He's like, I don't want to kill you. I will kill you.
I will kill you.
But I won't. I don't want to kill you. And if y'all just go away.
Now, you know what? All the way over here and all the way down there is the Mos Pelgo territories. And I don't know what happens in Tatooine. I mean, in Mos Eisley, because anything can go there. But here, people answer to me because I'm the marshal. And I thought, wow. And I loved it. I love this character so much.
Yes.
And, of course, there you go. A little Clint Eastwood Western action going on. And of course, at the very end, he basically tells the surviving Pike, "Are you lucky, punk?" Basically, in a way,
Yes.
And and I think what's interesting here, there's a chest and it had spice in it. And I don't know if that was part of what was going on, some transactional thing going on between the Pikes. I'm not really for sure why they were there. But he said, leave it as a payment for breaking the law. And what I find interesting about the character of Cobb Vanth is he dumped the sand out, the spice out.
Yeah.
And, basically that's, and the Pike told him, he said, that spice is worth more than your whole town. And it I don't know, it says something about his character, and I think how he feels about the whole spice trade.
Yeah, it was interesting that he chose to take the spice and dump it.
Yeah.
Rather than take the money
Yeah.
and leave the spice for them to try to sell again.
Yeah, exactly.
So he chose the high road of I'm not just doing this, I'm trying to end the drug trade.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I thought that was it really fits his character. I think it works well. I really liked it.
Yeah, I really like his character. And that at first in the episode is From the Desert Comes a Stranger. And when I first saw that, I was thinking to myself, well, maybe we're talking about Cobb Vanth.
Yep.
He's kind of a Western.
I thought we were going to have an all Cobb Vanth storyline.
Which, you know what, I would love.
I don't think it would have been a bad episode.
I think he deserves his own series. I really like his style. Anyway, it's almost like a Firefly type of feel with him, and I think it would be a great series if they gave him a chance to do that. But yeah, I mean, so from there, I guess from there we talk. It cuts to
the thing I didn't think would happen.
What's that?
This was the thing that I said last week.
Yeah,
I didn't think we'll see this.
Yeah.
I think that it'll either be fast forwarded and it'll be a jump cut to him being back. I went and visited and I left.
Yeah.
Or, I thought it was going to be some highly reduced version.
Yeah,
we got like 10 or 15 minutes of it.
It seemed like it went forever. I mean, I was just so surprised, I mean, we'll lay it out there. It's, basically it was an entire 20 minutes of CGI Luke Skywalker.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
and pretty darn good.
It's pretty good. It improved. It
Yes.
And that was a question I was going to ask. He says, how do you feel about the CGI? Because I thought compared to the last episode of the end of The Mandalorian, I thought this was a big improvement.
Two things that I think they did right. One, there was a lot of dialogue off camera.
Yeah.
For Luke. That worked well. Number two, the CGI was much improved when he did speak on camera. There was one line that was awkward.
Yeah.
And it made me feel like, it almost made me feel like they did the CGI based on somebody doing a read.
Yeah.
And then they had Mark Hamill come in and actually do the read.
Yeah.
And it didn't match up. And they didn't go back and fix the CGI. But it was only one line that I thought, that one looked weird.
Well, I was reading
the rest of it worked really, really well.
I was reading a little bit about this, and of course, I was reading about this in the last episode of Mandalorian. They did use Mark Hamill. He did do the voice acting to it, and of course, they kind of, they kind of smooth his voice out. But this time around, they actually took all audio footage of Luke Skywalker, and it was totally done through just bits and pieces of his words from the trilogy.
Really?
Yeah.
So they did the whole deep fake audio dub thing. Really?
Yeah, I was
interesting.
I was surprised.
They're still giving him a credit. On IMDb, he is credited as being on the show.
And it's because they're using his voice. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. You can fact check that if you want, but I was reading it from Screen Rant, and I thought that was...
Screen Rant's pretty reputable.
So
I would say they're probably right.
But yeah.
Rob says, I thought the CGI Luke went from vastly better than the last episode of The Mandalorian Mando, but towards the end of the Luke scenes, it felt like it got worse.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah, there was just a couple.
Yeah.
Like I said, I only noticed one that I thought was really awkward. But when he wasn't talking, it really looked convincing to me. The face replacement's really, really good.
I thought it did really well. Except for that one incident that you were speaking of. I mean, and it's really hard because we grew up, watching the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Because the whole time we're looking at Luke, we know that is not the Luke that we remember.
Oh, yeah.
But off of the side of that, was there anything besides that one scene, besides that one discrepancy? Did it take you out of that show? Did it take you out of the Star Wars universe? I know the naggingness behind your mind is, for me, it was like, okay, that's not Luke, but man, that's pretty darn close to Luke, and so trying to push that aside, what do you think overall on the performance?
I had more issues with Grogu.
The Grogu?
With the way Grogu was, like, I don't know if it's the CGI or the puppeteering, like however combo they were using with him. Just I felt that there were at times I was like, okay, yeah, that doesn't look good at all. Like,
look good, yeah.
It looked real choppy or real. Nothing was smooth with it. A lot of his movements weren't smooth, and so it was hard to kind of stay in it with him. But yeah, I didn't have any issues with the CGI with Luke or anything, at least any of that.
Rob has a good point. At the end of the day, I could not do better. They've done a great job. Yeah. I will say,
I agree with that.
I thought they did a great job. I am a CGI snob. I'm hardcore on CGI stuff. I hit it every time I talk about any movie. And I thought this was really, really well done. Does it take me out of the story a little bit? I'm going to say a little bit.
Yeah.
And here's why. And this is super nitpicky. I feel like the CGI Luke looks slightly younger than he did in Return of the Jedi.
In the Jedi.
His skin tones are just a little too smooth. It's like he needs to just be a little bit older.
Maybe a facelift. Maybe he had a little bit of facelift. Maybe. I mean, actually, it does give you. Now that you brought that up, yeah, there is something about him that looks younger.
I think it's the scarring. I think it might be hard to transfer the scarring that Mark Hamill had
maybe
after that wreck right before Jedi, and so. I think that might be what it is, because I was looking for it. I was like, okay, you can kind of see the scar on his kind of lip or his kind of chin and stuff. But the other stuff that they were trying to, keep off of camera, but you still kind of caught a little bit of. I think that might have been it. It made him look a little younger, a little smoother skin when he didn't have that.
Which, honestly, when you see the young Luke, I guess it's the young Luke in the sequel trilogy. There's a couple scenes where they show a younger Luke, training Leia, and it's all CGI, and it has the same kind of look. He looks slightly younger than I think he should have looked,
which I think they did better compared to what they did on the.
I think this is way better than the trilogy movies. And okay, so throwback to a couple of weeks ago, we everybody's harsh on those speeder bikes, the Vespas.
The Vespas, yeah.
My only gripe about the Vespas is I don't care about the colors. I think they just shouldn't have been as clean.
Yeah, I
as
agree
they
with
were.
that. Yeah.
But the slow speed chase, the white Bronco chase, to me felt like unfinished.
Oh, that would be so awesome! Taking that video and just have it like the whole OJ thing with a ticker tape going across. That would be so awesome.
I thought the whole thing felt like slightly unfinished CGI.
Yeah, I think so
like
too.
There was some motion blur that should have been there that didn't get applied, and because I've done some work like this, not to this extent, but I've done some of that kind of work, and it makes me seeing this episode makes me think they put a lot of budget into making this episode right. And they did that so much that it was difficult to spend quite so much on this speeder race, this speeder chase that didn't matter.
I thought so too. I thought they kind of like seeing this episode and everything that went into it with all the different CGI and everything they did with all the characters. It was like, okay, this is where all the money went. Like this is like this is their money episode. Like here we go. Like everything else is kind of like, hey, like let's get it moving. Like polish it enough just to get it through. The door, and then this one just kind of blew it out of the park.
Yeah,
I think we think about it. I think the movie that was very experimental with the CGI, bringing actors back from the past, was Rogue One, and I mean that was Rogue One was full of CGI. I call them CGI actors. There's a slew of them from New Hope. And of course, the movie was based prior to New Hope getting this, the Death Star plans. And so then, you would see like Tarkin, and then you would see, Princess Leia. And then there was a lot of the different pilots that were, in the attack of the Death Star. And, it was cool. I was so excited. Now going back, you can see the CGI and you can see some of the nitpickiness of it. And you can kind of see it was a little less.
CGI doesn't always age well.
So, and then of course after the Mandalorian, the last episode, then there you go, a little more CGI. Was it better? I don't know, but this one was definitely better in comparison. And so, so I would have to say they did a great job. I guarantee you, if there was a day that the CGI would look exactly like the actors, that would save the studios a lot of money.
Let's see, we could have Robert Downey Jr. play this, or we could get a guy about his height and just replace his face, and pay him nothing.
There'd be no lawsuit involved. I can tell you that right now. But Mando's comes back to what's interesting. I have to ask you this, and I'm just gonna go through a couple of these shots because, but is this as you were watching the scene where Mando comes to, and they don't even give the name of the planet. There was no reference to where the planet was, but it does not look like the same location as the older Luke Skywalker was in the very last episode of the trilogy of the I can't do the numbers. Which episode was it? The very last, The Rise of Skywalker. I think that was the name.
Yeah, number 9.
Episode 9.
And so
it's a different planet.
It has to be.
Yeah, because I can't imagine Luke going back to the academy that he built after Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren destroyed it. I can see him going to a completely different planet, and I believe he did. I believe it was a completely different planet.
What do you think about these spider droids that were putting together
Cool.
Those are pretty
cool. Droids, yeah.
Well,
I thought they were pretty cool.
Along with the idea that it's a different planet, I would say it's a different planet because one of the one of the deals, as I recall, in the sequel movies, it was a monastery that already existed that he kind of took over, rather than a place that he purpose built.
Right.
So I would say it's definitely a different planet.
Has to be.
I think it's interesting that that
monastery was from like one of the first orders of the Jedi, like one of the first Jedi orders. Like it's something significant with like the first of the order, and that's why it was so strong on the Force, and something along those lines.
Yeah. No, I thought it was interesting, and like I said, throughout this story, of course, you got these construction droids putting together this. I don't know. Is it a temple? Is it it looks like looks like one of these Aztec huts or something like that. But anyway, he comes to looks for Grogu, and of course, he's meted by R2D2, and R2D2. What I think is funny is in the process he shuts off. I mean, he totally shuts off, and of course Mando's going, wait a minute, I thought you were going to take me the Grogu, and now you shut off. And
I personally love the part where he goes, wait, is that a bench? How long am I going to have to wait?
Exactly.
And then he takes a nap.
I mean, so it's, of course, here he is, it cuts to the scene of Luke Skywalker and Grogu. And I love this because they're meditating. And of course, Grogu's attention span, is like any child. Yes. And he sees a froggy and he decides he wants to eat a froggy. And in the midst of eating a froggy, Luke comes out of his meditation. And of course, like any teacher, scolding his student. And of course, again, and here lately, throughout this whole thing, I kind of I'm starting I feel like the Jedis are a bunch of jerks because, then you got, then you got Luke Skywalker bringing all the frogs up in the middle of the air and say, look what I can do.
It's the opposite of Yoda and Luke in Dagobah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Luke can't lift the
X-wing.
The X-wing. Yeah. But little Yoda, I can lift.
Well, you see some of the Easter eggs in that, like putting Grogu in the backpack. Okay. Yes. Well, the same thing at Dagobah,
Run through,
And of course, he's running around, just like he did in the Dagobah system on the planet, where he's jumping around doing hoops and all this other. Whoa, wait a minute. No, is that who is down there? That's the Florida Man.
Hey,
welcome. Hey, hey, man. Welcome back to the living Florida Man. Well, let's do the whole show over. No, I'm just kidding. So we were just talking about do the scene where it's kind of
we're already on the Grogu.
We're kind of like homage to to the Dagobah, to Empire Strikes Back, where. Hey, Rob Morris says, hey, Tom.
Rob, how are you?
Hey. Yeah,
gotta love Windows Update.
Yeah, you gotta love Microsoft. That's right.
Yeah. My phone updated today, and so now I don't have any audio coming through my earbuds. It's all coming through my speakerphone, and it won't connect. But the microphone connects, but the speaker doesn't.
Yeah, my camera's all choppy now. How's my sound?
Oh, your sound is great. You're good.
Okay.
You're good. I know.
I kind of look like Max Headroom.
No, it's good. It's good. I know Ricky's back there going, I'm glad it's not me today. So I shouldn't have said anything. But But
I had a tech outlet this week. Yeah. Right.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Yeah, we were talking about this great thing.
But yes,
anyway,
the dexterity though that Luke had to show to be able to pinpoint each of those frogs' life forces, and then to individually lift all of them up at the same time.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That shows that's high. High level force skills.
Oh that's black belt force right there, buddy. Yeah,
I don't know. I would have been more impressed if he'd done all the tadpoles too.
Well, I think that's probably an Obi-Wan thing, but this is where it gets exciting because a lot of us had speculations about Grogu and where he came from, and there was a lot of speculation.
Right.
You know, we had thoughts, you know, maybe some inklings that he may have been, you know, at the Jedi Temple during Order 66, but nobody really knew. And, you know, it was almost like, you know, what happened? Where did he come from? You know, who was his people? And this is a great scene where Luke, you know, he asks him, do you know where your beginnings are at? Or do you know where you came from? And he basically does, well, I'm sorry, a mind melt.
I was going to say, this feels very much like a Star Trek mind meld.
Yeah, it was a mind melt. I didn't realize.
We'll be okay with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that. But this is really the cool part is where they replay Order 66.
Yes.
And what a great scene this was.
Through Grogu's eyes.
Through his eyes. I mean, this was so good.
Yes.
I mean, it was just, you know, he was a youngling, you know, a Padawan, you know, I mean, I love the memes where, you know, I have all the memes where, you know, Anakin comes in about to, you know, slay with his lightsaber all the younglings, the Jedi younglings, you know, and then they have these memes where Grogu's on the side saying, you know, hiding behind a chair or anyway, he gets a text going, don't go to the academy or something.
Don't go to school today.
Don't go to school today or something like that. Yeah. So I thought that, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I got a question. Is Grogu anywhere in that shot with the younglings in the previous movies?
No, I don't see him anywhere in it. This is, I guess this is one of those situations that the way they portray it, he wasn't, lucky for him, he wasn't in the room at the time.
Yeah.
And, you know.
It looked like he was in a completely different area. It looked like he had his own guardians.
But I'd like to know whose backpack was he in, or, you know.
Or is he in bed? I can't figure out what he's in.
I think he has to be I don't know. It's a good question. But someone had to help him escape.
But I thought it was interesting.
And
Luke
we
asked where you came. Oh, go ahead.
I'm ready for it. Oh, his escape. Mike was saying, you know, we still haven't seen his escape, or, you know, I'm excited to see it. I want to see who helped him. How did he get out? Like, and it's got to be somebody high up.
It wasn't Ahsoka. It wasn't Ahsoka because she was already left the Jedi Order
Jedi by that time.
And so, you know, who was left, you know.
Kenobi wasn't there. Kenobi wasn't on planet. You know, obviously Anakin was going around, you know, slicing and dicing.
Yeah.
And so, it's got to be another high-ranking Jedi Master, I think, that's going to have to help him escape. Either that or somebody that we would not.
We have no clue because it wasn't, like I said, you know, if we look at the actual the prequels, you know, of course, you know, how they treated all of this, you know, basically like with the Star Wars animated series, we know that's between the timeline of Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith kind of timeline there. But we all know that,
I thought so too, Rob.
I thought so too. And maybe if that happened. Oh,
nice.
You're really excited about the show. So what I'm getting at right now is what Steve's excited about the show right behind me. He's having a good old time. And so anyway, what was I saying?
I don't know what you were saying, but I thought this was interesting.
Go ahead.
Luke says, you know, let me help you remember where you came from. As though he's forgotten.
Yeah.
Number one. And then rather than going back to where he first came from, the first thing he knows that he remembers is the Order 66. rather than seeing like a mother and father or being dropped off at the temple the first time or being brought to the temple the first time. His first memory, is this his first memory period?
Well,
he
the thing,
doesn't remember anything before that.
Right.
And we talk about Jedis. I mean, really, most of the Jedis, the well-known ones that we know in Revenge of the Sith, they get, except for Yoda and Obi-Wan, they escape. The rest of them, as far as we see, like, Mace Windu now, he went through the window and, so basically unless, cause Order 66 happened, was it after Mace Windu?
Yeah.
Or was it before?
Yes,
So
it was after, because after Anakin, or I guess it may have been right around the same time. Like, I can't remember if he gave the order right before Anakin and him tried to take over, or it had been after he turned Anakin. It was after he turned Anakin. Yeah.
I think one of my favorite things about this episode, and, I mean, to make a man, a Star Wars fan, tear up, is the bond between Grogu and Din. And, and of course, in this situation, we see Ahsoka. She shows up, and I like it. And one of my favorite lines is, Mando asks why you're here, and she said, well, I'm a friend of the family. And which was a nice reference there.
That was a nice reference to, I knew his dad.
Yeah, exactly.
And I almost expected her to call Luke Sky Guy or something along those lines, some kind of nickname, some kind of something. And, she did in the cartoon. Like, I'm expecting it in the future, to say the least.
One part, of course, later on, we know Luke and Ahsoka, they have a discussion. And, of course, Luke doesn't know what to do with Grogu because, Grogu, because he sees her. Grogu?
Grogu.
That's what did I say?
I'm going all Dragon Ball Z.
Okie dokie. So, thanks. I forgot what I was going to say. So,
Ahsoka and Luke having
they have a conversation
with Grogu. Yes.
Yeah. So the situation, he's conflicted what to do with the little guy because, he sees his heart's not in it. And, and I think it's interesting, the whole idea of Ahsoka stopping, Mando, was that she didn't want him to see him. And I think the biggest thing was, he sees him from afar. He wants to bring this armor that he brought with him, to Grogu. And, I don't know, it was a really heart-tearing scene to me. It was a very, his voice, the actor, but he's right there. I'm so close. I want to go see him. Through the conversation between him and Ahsoka says, well, why are you here? He says, he was a foundling in my care. I want to make sure he's okay. I brought this for him. And, Ahsoka
he kept calling him a foundling, and he's a foundling. That's what he kept referring to him as, a foundling, like he was a Mandalorian foundling.
Yes.
And then, and then she goes, what if he's a Padawan now?
Exactly.
Yes.
And the whole time he's trying to get him to realize that, and basically says, if you go and see, Grogu, that, he misses you so much that it's going to be much harder for him in his training and to go further. And, probably the biggest thing, the biggest sacrifice was for him to leave. And not being able to see him and not giving him the gifts, because basically what it came down to, and Ahsoka was trying to make it very clear to him, you're here for more. You're here because you want him, you want to be with him. You want him to leave with you. Not saying he's going to come and force him, but he sees him as a foundling, a part of his pack, a son. and so his heart hurts. He has his attachment, and later on
they mentioned that in the previous episode when he says when the leader of the covert says, Jedis have to abandon all attachments.
Yeah.
And he goes, but that's not our way. Our way is, family and togetherness or something. I don't remember the exact words he used. But it's the exact opposite philosophy.
Well, see, and Grogu actually felt his presence, because in the scene where the ship takes off,
he turns and looks.
He knows.
Yeah.
He knows.
And you think he's trying to capture the ship right there?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Star Killer?
Star Killer, yeah. So I saw that too. I was like, oh, it's Star Killer. Like, he's going to rip him out of the sky. Something I really liked, and that I liked that Luke had said was in that talk that him and Ahsoka had, it's like, you're a good teacher. And Luke was like, well, I'm just helping him remember what he's forgotten.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And so as he's, you can kind of see him, the techniques and the things that he had learned at the Jedi Temple, and all Luke was doing was kind of like, hey, remember this? Hey, remember this? Hey, remember? And Grogu was like, oh, okay, yeah, I can get it now. Like, I remember how to do this or how to do that. Kind of.
It's almost like he had like a post-traumatic syndrome. I mean, it was almost like it was all repressed. He couldn't remember, and it's like,
I don't know. Or I wonder if whoever took him, saved him from the temple, wiped his mind, and temporarily cut off his presence to the Force, and so he couldn't almost like kind of put a cap on it. So because he is so powerful in the Force, his species is known to be extremely powerful in the Force, and so if you have somebody like Palpatine, who is extremely powerful in the Force, can feel that power. Yeah, he's gonna go after that power.
Well, that's a very good point. I mean, that could be the reason why, and we may find out later, maybe that's why there was the extra effort to get him out of the temple, because Yoda was one of the most powerful Jedis, and of course the same species there. So that could be a backstory there. Could be a reason behind that.
Yeah. Well, you had two of the species that sat on the High Council with Yoda and Yoda. And so as far as we know, they're the only two of their species that we have seen in Star Wars, and then, the only two of their species of the same species sitting on the High Council, other than human.
I think this is the part that maybe you were talking about earlier, Daryl, about some of the Grogu movements that didn't feel actually right here. Some of the the whole Karate Kid kind of thing going on here.
Yeah, that was weird.
It did look a little awkward.
Yeah.
It was. I think it was definitely practical effects.
Yeah.
And like, he just didn't quite have all the motion he should have had.
Right.
They finally gave this thing a name. It was like a remote trainer.
Yes.
And of course, we all remember this is the same thing that Obi-Wan used to train Luke Skywalker to use a lightsaber. And so, and I mean, I don't want to say the word, but Luke can be a real Richard. You know what I'm saying? Because
and you see it, and I saw somebody had posted, there was a meme going around about the Jedi, and how harsh their training is, pulling them away from family and stuff like that, and you see him here, like, he's completely detached from all feeling of if he gets hurt, he gets hurt. If he doesn't, hey, good, he got out of the way, set to 10 and let's go.
I saw this, and I kind of saw this, and I kind of summed it up in a nutshell. It says the Book of Boba Fett reminds us that the Jedi suck.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
And that's kind of
Luke is treating Grogu.
Yeah, no,
exactly
exactly
the way Yoda treated Luke.
Yeah, but
This
I mean, even though this is funny, it actually, you see the, of course, Robert Downey Jr. with his son, loving on his son, but I think that's the kind of love that Din has for Grogu. That's his heart aches for him. It's his son. I mean, basically that's it.
And Luke is a coach, a teacher, a trainer. He's not there for, any kind of emotional attachment. It's, this is it. It's all emotion detached from it. And so with him being his first student, like, I think it's really cool being able to see him as his first student. So
I think that's why there's a lot of Jedis out there, and I didn't realize there were Jedis like this until there was a couple of books, but especially in Rebels and the animated series, that there were Jedis who were no longer in the Order. They weren't Sith and they weren't Jedis. They were strong within the Force, but they felt like attachments were good, relationships, love, romance was good. And even Obi-Wan, I can't remember her name, he said at one time, I would have given up I would walked away from the Order to be with her, and it was Mandalore. It was on Mandalore.
It was it Bo-Katan's sister?
Yes, Bo-Katan's sister.
Yeah,
so
she was the rightful ruler of Mandalore.
Yeah, exactly. And so, so going back to that, they have to make a choice. And of course, Anakin's attachments created the worst case scenario. But you kind of wondered when you look at that kind of stuff, if they make attachments so bad that they don't, attachments bad, no attachment good. It's there's no discipleship in moving through all of that, and I think that, and Anakin didn't have that luxury of growing up in the temple, Jedi temple. So anyway, going back,
which kind of leads to why Ahsoka it was so protective about letting Grogu see the Jinn, or Din Djarin. Because if he's as powerful as we think, and he starts feeling pain over not being with Din, then you don't want a dark side Grogu.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And
there ain't a frog in the universe to be safe.
I think at the same time too. I think
Grogu.
I think at the same time too. I think Ahsoka left the temple. Of course, she was wronged. She was accused wrongly. But at the same time, I think there were some areas where she felt too that the Jedis were too strict, and they felt like she kind of blamed the Jedi Temple Order, how her master became. It was almost like you were so strict that you didn't show him love, and I think that's the thing. Yes, no attachments, but. I think the Force, you put love and the Force together. I think that, even though the Jedi represents the good of the Force, but I think they're so strict.
Didn't she say that the Jedi had lost their way?
Yeah,
that's how she felt. Yeah. She didn't feel. She felt like exactly. It's a good quote from that, and that's exactly what she said. So I think that's why she's not part of the temple. That's why she's not back there training. With Luke.
With that idea, see, it's interesting that I think Luke is going to carry on this no attachments idea. And we know he does, because that's the point of the sequels. But he had a strong attachment to his father.
Yeah.
To the point that he was not willing to kill his father.
Yeah.
He would give himself up willingly to not have to kill his father, because he had such a strong attachment to his father.
But his nephew, he didn't have a problem.
I was going to say, knowing how effective that attachment was in the end, why does he go away from that?
Yeah.
But that's the way of
and
Star
also
Wars.
too, I don't know. I wonder how much of it you think about in the behind the scenes. The Mandalorians and the Jedis were not buddies.
No, not
So I don't know.
They were almost at a perpetual war. That there was what the Jedi Mandalorian War. That happened. Revan was a part of that.
Yeah.
And and then there was a lot. The Mandalore and the Jedi Council go way back when it comes to crossing sabers on the battlefield.
Kind of the move some things along, just because I know we're past the hour mark, and we still have a lot of stuff to cover. But Din goes back to the as he promised, after seeing trying to see his little friend, he goes back to Fett and Fennec, because he's going, he promised that he would come back and help Fennec. And of course, back in the former Hutt palace, finally you see, hey, that's Boba Fett. I didn't know he was still in the show. So, and of course, the modders.
Did he even have a line?
Yeah.
Or did he just stand there?
I think he had a line. Well, I don't know now. I can't even remember that.
Fennec talks.
Yeah.
Does
Fennec
he actually say anything?
I don't know. I mean,
I think he does.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he
might have
does.
had a line. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. I was thinking back. Did he say anything?
Yeah, I think the main thing. Yeah, all I know is that I guess Fennec talks about we have enforcers, we have the modders for intel and for surveying, but we lack foot soldiers. And in that scene, in that scene, basically, Mando says, "I can take care of that," and that's when we see we go back.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about Mando stepping up to say, "Oh, I can get you foot soldiers"?
Yeah, it's like, I know somebody.
Rather than Fennec continuing on to go find them. I mean, it makes sense because he has the next relationship.
Yeah.
But does it make sense from other than it makes sense from that's the way this has to work because we want this group of people to show up.
Yeah, exactly.
But does it make sense in a real scenario that Mando goes, "You hired me. Oh, let me go hire some other people"?
Well, it's kind of like and it wasn't really that he hired him; it was more of a favor. It is kind of what it's come down to. It's like, I kind of owe you one. And then he kind of gets there and he kind of sees what's going on. And he's like, "Oh, you need foot soldiers? I know some people. Like, let me go talk to some guys."
The next part is a great scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this. Cobb
the talking about the speeder. Oh, yeah.
Talking about the Naboo, and they have a conversation. He asks about the where's the kid, and he said, "Well, the kid's not with me anymore."
He's with his own kind.
With his own kind, but for me, it's I thought it was a really good. It was they made a comment about I guess we both lost something that we loved, which was, I think he was referring to his armor.
Referring to his armor.
Yes.
But it goes back to, the whole idea is there. He's trying to convince Cobb that, listen, I want you and your people to join us in this fight. And of course, even the bartender shouts, he said, "This is a city folk, not a town folk, fight." And, and Mando the whole time saying, "Listen, this is Tatooine. We're all on Tatooine."
Yeah. It affects everybody.
And Mos Espa, they're not going to stop. They'll come see you pretty soon. And so Cobb basically says, "Okay, I'm going to."
Cobb already knows.
I know, because he stopped those guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the town doesn't.
Right.
Because presumably Cobb has been doing this more than once already.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what he was going to tell him.
Yeah.
When he said,
"I have something to tell the town, and once I tell them, they'll all be in."
Yeah, everything's gonna change. Like, once I talk.
Yeah, I mean, because the town was pretty. I mean, from as far as the bartender point of view, which I feel like that was the town's point of view, is that
Yes.
we don't want to get involved. We slayed a dragon. Now we want peace. We don't want to deal with anything else. No war. And of course, I think later on their mind changes. But this is probably one of the best scenes. Of course, Mando. Never mind.
I think that one's out of order.
Yes, I think so too. Never mind with that one. But this is probably one of the best scenes right here.
Yes,
We discussed him showing up.
And the thing is, he was like, I thought, this would be great, but they're not going to do it. Honestly,
I saw him in the distance, and I was
the
like,
second I saw him in the
not
distance,
him.
Yeah.
I had the same reaction. The second you saw him in the distance, and you just see him kind of just this little speck sitting out there, I was like, it's Cad Bane.
That's why I
actually.
I
text Daryl right after that, and I said, "Okay, have you seen it yet? Have you seen it yet?" Because I didn't want to say anything because I knew he would freak out about Bane, and I said, "Okay, well, let me know." So I'm watching the whole time to see his response, and finally him and his brother pops up, and at that, I mean, this was something. I mean, boom, there you go.
Yep.
I mean, dead on. I mean,
Oh yeah.
And speaking of,
there were people that were actually upset that he didn't look more like the Clone Wars character, and I was like, how do you not make him like that? There's nothing else.
That's about as good as it's going to get.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think he
had.
Yeah,
there was a scene, and I didn't take the photograph of it, but yeah, he does have the teeth, and it looks really good. It doesn't look to me. What I like about it, it's not campy looking either.
Not at all.
I think it's pretty true.
Yep.
And I mean, what do you want? You want an actual cartoon, like I don't know, like Roger Rabbit or something like that?
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, I thought he looked great. The way he walked, the way he moved, like everything spoke like we're about to. It's going down. Like you twitch, finger triggers moving. Like it was great.
Were you happy that because we had discussed him last week as somebody who could possibly show up, but we had kind of suggested he could show up as part of the hired muscle.
Yeah.
Are you disappointed that he's on the side of the cartel?
No, actually, I think
it seems in character.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I think it's really in character. In the scene here where I go back to the scene, which man, it's a great like high noon, man. This is what a great scene this is.
Yep.
And he comes up, and it's almost like after he sees Bane's face, Cobb, he kind of recognizes him because Bane knows him. I mean, even to the point where he tells, he tells Cobb, he says, "Okay, whatever Fett is paying you, we'll match you, as long as you just sit back and just let things happen."
Yep.
And of course, the stupid deputy gets involved anyhow,
Yeah.
and then and of course Cobb tells Bane, he said, "Let the Pikes know that they have no business here." And part of this thing I think is interesting. Bane tells Cobb that he should have never given up his armor, and I'm curious, how did he know that? I mean,
well, he's not wearing it.
Yeah, but he didn't know. But he didn't know. Did he know Bane before? Did he know Cobb before?
I think that the reaction that he had, the reaction Cobb had was like, "Hey, go and get everybody inside. Like, let me handle this. It almost seemed like him and Bane are familiar in some way or another, and so they cross paths. Like Bane's picked up a bounty in there, or they cross paths, picked up a bounty, or something along those lines.
Well, he didn't know who he was until he came up close. He saw him from a distance.
Yeah,
and he told everybody to go inside. I think that's a natural Western. You see a stranger coming in, and you tell the town folks, "Okay, go inside. I have a bad feeling about this," and then he sees Bane. And you're right. I think there may have been some. I was just curious because did they know each other before for Bane to say, "You should have never given up your armor"? And so
either that, or they were like I said, some way familiar with each other. Like, hey, this guy's a bounty hunter. We know all the major players. Him being the marshal, he knows all the major players. That come to Tatooine type deal. Could have been something like that too.
Well, and the idea that he gave up the armor.
Yeah.
It honestly, that's a bigger deal than Cobb should have kept the armor to protect himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Giving up the armor is what brought Boba Fett back to the world as Boba Fett, which allowed him to step into this position that he's in, which is what caused this whole thing to happen.
Yep.
So
Now,
the idea of giving up the armor, it isn't just a reference to him protecting himself from somebody like Bane. It's you gave up the armor, and the day you did that, you set all of this in motion. It's all your fault.
It's that first domino piece.
The next scene, I'm going to tell you up front, I have a theory, and Rob Morris says, I can't wait to see Boba versus, Cad Bane. Yeah. This is going to be a fight to remember. Yeah, they're both bounty hunters, and they have to know each other just from bounty circles and stuff like that. And
I don't think we're going to see it, though.
Yeah.
I
don't think
what
so?
We're going to see, I think what we're going to see is Vance healed just enough to come back.
I think so too.
We're going to see Vance take care of
the next scene here. The next scene here.
I was going to say that about Vance real quick. I think Cad, I think he didn't kill him on purpose. I think that was a wounding shot, a warning shot. Yeah, I think it was a warning shot, a wounding shot. The deputy's 100% dead. Like he
the thing is,
he got him like 5 times.
And I'm going to the next. Yeah,
nobody even ran over to the deputy.
Yeah.
The next scene. Yeah, no, the next scene here. Now we see Cobb, being shot by Bane. This is what when you're thinking of the deputy, I blames the deputy. I think Cobb,
the deputy's
because
fault.
if you think about that scene, he's so worried about what his stupid deputy is going to do that he takes his eye off for a second, and then when they draw the pistols. That it just took that much because Bane is good. And
did you see the facial expression on Cobb looking at his deputy when the deputy shouts, "He can't be bought," and he's like, "Dude, what are you doing?"
Go back inside.
Go inside. Yeah.
Yeah.
I said you're making the situation worse. Go inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Barney Fife. Go inside. I've got this.
Count your bullet.
Yes,
but it's a great scene, and then you see the town people running to him, and of course the deputy somewhere off the side dead. So that but of course on the point, and this scene, of course, my question was, did Cobb Van die? But I don't think he did.
I don't think he did.
They ask, is he dead? Is he okay? And then, I guess they, get a stent, which, I guess it's a med pack or something like that.
Yeah.
But this is pretty cool. Then, here he just walks away. I mean,
back into the desert.
But this is the part that I saw. This was the person that was totally against going to war.
Oh yeah.
And you look at, and of course he was the bartender and a friend of Cobb's. And you see his face. He says, "Okay, you've changed my mind. We're going to war, buddy.
Going to war."
Yeah.
So
I think that was the provoking shot. Like
I agree.
Before, I think he would have been adamant, steadfast against going and fighting this city fight. But since they came into their town, they shot their marshal. All this stuff. Yeah, I think he's going to push more for it.
And I think this was written on purpose to turn the town people, get them together because you killed our leader and now we're coming after you. And it brought the situation that was happening in Mos Espa, and bring it to their town. And so they realized it's a reality now. Yeah.
The sheriff has been protecting the town. Nobody knew about it. Now it has come to them.
Yeah. So now we go back to Mos Espa, and we have a situation where, let's just say, the Pikes did not come in for drinks.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, honestly, they walked in. I was like, "Yeah, that's a bomb."
Yeah, I thought the same. I thought a bomb, gas, something that was going to kill somebody or maim a bunch of people. I thought, it was obvious. Yeah.
Okay, now I have a question. I want everyone to listen about this because I'm baffled by this, even from back to Jabba's barge to now, did he survive?
I was wondering the same thing. Did he
Because
survive? Did the band? I just need to know: did the band survive? And did my future Twi'lek wife survive too?
Okay,
Because
Max Rebo. We all remember Max Rebo. He was part of him and his band was on the barge when the whole thing exploded. But somehow, you know, tougher than, you know, Fett.
Very tough species.
You know. But one thing I noticed that did you notice I didn't see him in the cantina anywhere because they had the band playing. You remember?
I didn't notice. I definitely saw the guy with the thing.
Yeah,
because
with the thing.
With the clarinet looking thing. Because my first thought was, as soon as they showed him, they played some extra overlaid music that didn't fit. It was kind of weird. It was one of those. That's not even quite in the right key. I don't know why you're doing that. Just stop.
But I thought it was funny because I'm thinking, wait a minute.
But I don't remember seeing him. I'd have to watch it again.
I watched it again just to see earlier because the whole thing about, okay, wait a minute. This guy survived the barge explosion on Jabba's barge. And so now this cantina that he plays in blows up. And I looked back and I didn't see him any of it. So I'm thinking, okay, what's going to happen?
That's funny.
Yeah. This guy's played in some rough places. Like he played in that first cantina on Mos Eisley that we went into in episode 4. And then we see him again on Jabba's barge that ends up getting blown up. And then now we're seeing, this bar that he's working that gets blown up too. It's like, man, what kind of life does this guy live? He's going home. He's got some stories. I'll tell you that.
I'll tell you what, maybe he's the muscle. Maybe we'll see him. Maybe we'll see him in the next episode, and it's going to be between him and Bane. Two blue guys.
I was going to say the same thing.
Exactly. So we go back. Rob Morrison. Maybe Max Rebo is an accomplice. There you go.
He was in on it.
Yeah.
And all the bombings. That sounds like a conspiracy theory that might just be right.
Mm-hmm.
So we go back to, I guess you want to call it the Jedi School, the Jedi Temple, the Jedi something or other. But this is where I guess the rubber hits the road here is Luke decides to give Grogu the opportunity to decide what he's going to do.
The choice.
He has a choice, and he has a choice between the saber. He says you can only have one choice. You can't have both. You can have the saber, or you can have the Beskar armor.
And that choice is a choice to stay or leave.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's not a choice. It's not just a choice of which would you rather have.
Yeah.
This is making the choice to follow the Jedi or to stay a foundling and go back to Mando.
Any thoughts on that? I mean, I was thinking, go ahead.
I think he's going to choose one and then change back to the other one.
I don't know. Could he do this?
That's what I think is going to happen.
Can Grogu just be a Mandalorian Jedi? I mean, think about it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. He's going to choose one and steal the other.
Yeah.
Like the knob?
Like the little ball.
Like the little knob?
He's going to conveniently have it
somewhere tucked away, and then when he's with Mando, all suddenly Mando's in a problem and go.
Yeah.
I do have to refer back to
wins the dark saber.
I have to refer back to the training where it reminded me of Yoda and Dooku fighting. Yeah, Count Dooku fighting where Yoda is jumping all over the place. I thought that was kind of odd, but anyway, that's what it reminded me of that. But so back to, do you think which one he's going to choose? I mean, if you had to, one or the other, if you're, one or the other, not both, but if you had to choose between one of the two, Rob Moore, I don't know if he will be a Mandalorian Jedi, but I think he will be Force sensitive Mandalorian. I agree with that. that's a real possibility.
That's most likely what's going to happen. And of course, I don't think we're going to figure this out until the new season of Mandalorian. I think that these are going to be the
I agree.
questions answered in the Mandalorian.
I agree with you.
They can't answer it now. That if they
No,
do, they're just wasting
we
time.
said that about this episode too. Past episode, we thought they're not. Surely they're not going to do boom, 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 boom. But I think, Daryl, you're right. I think this would be an excellent cliffhanger to go into the Mandalorian. But I'm not going to say for sure whether it's not going to show up in the next episode because they totally rattle me on this one.
Yeah. Could be the very last scene you see little.
I was going to say, you want my wild prediction?
Go ahead.
That I think is ridiculous and can't ever happen.
What's that?
It probably will at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think he's going to choose the Mandalorian. He's going to choose the armor.
I think so.
I do actually think he's going to steal the lightsaber, but that's
it could be.
I have the feeling that we are going to see Grogu show up, and I think he's going to be delivered. Now, I don't know if it's going to be Luke or if it will be Ahsoka, but I think one of the two of them will show up delivering Grogu, and they will be part of the end battle because they just happen to be there at the right time.
That is in the back of my mind.
It would have to be Ahsoka if that's the case. I don't think they would put Luke fighting on screen again, especially against something as trivial as this.
I think Luke is so focused on his agenda. I don't think he would get involved, but I do think Ahsoka.
I feel like it's probably Ahsoka, too.
I think it would be Ahsoka also.
Yeah.
Plus, that could be a good way to kind of show her off one more time before she launches her
and then
new show.
Send her off as a send her off for her new show. Like, hey, this is my last bit with this. Here's my show coming up. Like, I can definitely see that.
Rob Moore wants one of the spider droids to deliver him.
Yeah, I can see this in my mind. Grogu shows up, and the battle's going on, and he's doing his force thing, but the bad guys get the upper hand. Mando's in trouble, and then all of a sudden you hear, and he's standing there with the lightsaber, and the crowd goes wild.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I thought about that too. But do you think at that point that be for this series would that be jumping the shark?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it probably would be.
I think it would be.
But I mean, you made a good point, and I thought about
it. It'd be epic.
That crossed my mind. But would it jump the shark? Because I think if that happened, then people are going to start. I think Star Wars fans are going to go, okay, wait a minute. I can accept all this other stuff, but come on.
Yeah.
Okay, we just did a Yoda and Count Dooku battle right here. Yeah. So I don't know, but that's I thought about the same thing, Todd, and because in the back of my mind, and I thought the same thing too, Ricky. In my mind, I thought, Ahsoka and Grogu would show up. And they happen to show up during the battle, or it would happen right then. Yeah. And so I don't know. It's interesting. Speaking of Ahsoka, because she left, of course. There's.
I hope so. Oh, I hope so. I hope she goes.
I hope that's what the point of her show is.
Yeah, I do too. We have to see, I need closure for that.
Yeah, because there's no closure. Ezra is somewhere out there. We all know that after the end of Rebels.
Yep. Sabine is out there somewhere.
Sabine. Well, actually, and Sabine and at the very end, Sabine and Ahsoka joins together to go find Ezra. And Ezra. Last time we saw Ezra, we saw him with
Thrawn.
Thrawn and the. I was looking for that. Whales. I was looking. Yes.
The space whales.
I saw you down in the window going, yeah. I kept thinking, okay, Mike, keep talking. Yeah. Okay, there it is. But
if I had been thinking, I would have clicked it already, but I wasn't. I wasn't with you.
No. I think for a minute you saw it in my eyes. So, yeah. But on top of that, going back to that, I think this is the thing. I think a lot of people have been talking about up to this point with the book of Boba Fett is, did he completely lost his own show here? Do you think that it became, I don't know, some people are wondering, well, this is no longer a Boba Fett show, or really felt like it never was, or bringing all these people took away from the storyline of Boba Fett. Now, for me, I enjoyed the whole thing, and for me, I enjoyed the different stories, and I love they interject the Mandalorian for almost 2 full episodes, because this is this is a kind of a story arc that crosses into one another. But at the same time, I have to go, it definitely takes the spotlight away from the story of Boba Fett. I don't know. What's your thoughts?
Since this started, I've looked at it less as a series about Boba Fett, but a Star Wars story. It's an entire arc of Star Wars that's telling its own story, and so all of these things are a part of that story. The Mandalorian's a part of that story. The Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and so whenever I see all these people coming into the Book of Boba Fett, I don't see it as Boba Fett losing his story. I just see them continuing the overall Star Wars story, the overall story that they're trying to tell within this little universe that Dave Filoni and everybody's created. And so but Dave Filoni, though, this episode he killed it. What's her name? Bryce Dallas Howard, is that her name? Dallas Bryce Howard.
That's Ron Howard's daughter.
Who did the last episode, or the Mandalorian episode and stuff. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. And Dave Filoni's like, just wait. Like,
well, and she got a lot of praise for that. She got a lot of praise for that. And I was, one of the ways I knew about that, I was on Instagram, and there was a bunch of memes of her, and I thought, oh really? I didn't know. And so
So she is like everything she has touched in Star Wars so far, like all the episodes she's directed. I think she is absolutely killed. She has crushed it.
Did she do anything besides? Did she do
She
anything?
did some stuff in Mandalorian.
Oh, did she? Okay. Yeah, I was clueless on that. That's fascinating. Yeah, I agree. I liked. I couldn't put it any better than you put it, Daryl. I mean, it is a story weaved together. And it's almost like the Book of Boba Fett was almost like, I feel like it was a platform for another story arc, but that's been that way through most of this, hasn't it? I mean, then the story arc from the Mandalorian, we're going to see from the Book of Boba Fett coming up with the other Mandalorian, and basically it's just been a complete spin-off of different series that are about to come our way. So
what do you think,
and
John?
Honestly, it's going to be a long time before season 3 of Mandalorian comes out, because it's like the end of 22, beginning of 23.
Really?
So they kind of need the interjection of Mando at this point to remind everybody he's still around. We'll see.
Is there anything supposed to come before that? Is there anything that's?
I think there's another show, but I don't think it's going to be in this universe.
Is it Acolyte that's coming out? When does that Acolyte one come out?
I think Acolyte got canceled.
Now Obi-Wan.
I think Andor is supposed to be
Andor.
I think.
Yeah,
but that's a different storyline and a different timeline, or a different time period.
Kind of before Rogue One, I think. Yeah.
I think. Here's my thoughts. I have liked the whole series. I've liked every episode. Definitely there's some things, little nitpicky things, that I haven't been super happy with. But overall, I've really enjoyed it. I think here's what they did. This was the Book of Boba Fett. The overarching story is going to be Boba Fett. This last episode is going to focus on Boba Fett laying his claim to the area, and getting rid of the Pikes, setting up that whole thing. And then, but what the last 2 episodes are is stories they really want to tell, but they didn't want to waste the first 2 episodes of Mandalorian season 3 telling them.
Yeah.
They want to be able to jump right into Mandalorian season 3 with everybody in place so they can get right into the new storyline. Right into the new story arc, whatever that story arc is. So in order to do that, they just said, okay, well, we're just going to suck it up and we're going to put them into the Book of Boba Fett. And it's not the way everybody would like it to be, but it's going to make Mandalorian season 3 better because we've already told the stories. We didn't ignore them and just go, oh, magically everyone's here. Which they could have done.
Yeah.
They could have just said things didn't work out at the Jedi Temple. He came back. Somehow.
Yeah.
And so instead of doing that, they decided to do it this way. And I think Mandalorian season 3 will be better for it. I think the Book of Boba Fett as a series suffered a little bit for it. But I think we got 2 great episodes, 2 great standalone episodes because of it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what.
Hey, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
But before you close the show, will you do me a favor?
Yeah.
You know that shot of Cad Bane when he's walking out of the haze? Do you still have that?
Yeah, let me take a look.
You put that back up for a sec?
Walking out of the haze?
Yeah, when he first appears in the distance. Do you have that?
Oh, yeah. Let me do that.
No, not that one. Further out.
You're talking about when he's going away, or
no, when he's way out in the haze, in the distance.
Oh,
do you have that shot?
I guess
not.
But
we'll just do it on this one. Go ahead. We'll do it on this one. Does anybody else hear the theme song from The Good, the Bad, the Ugly in their head right now? Doo-loo-loo, wah, wah, wah. I mean, yeah. Especially when he was walking out of the haze, Yeah. So I just wanted to throw that out.
Yeah, they definitely leaned heavy Western on this one.
Yeah, they really did. It
was great. It was perfect.
Which is funny because Lucas, he really draws a lot from, he's a big fan of the old, of older stuff like, older Westerns and the samurai and stuff like that. So, Rob's
my big fan.
Yeah, nailed it, Todd. Yeah, basically it's, the whole series from the very beginning, The Mandalorian had this space Western vibe from the very beginning.
Oh yeah,
and they did a really good job. I don't know if it throughout the movie trilogies that would ever come to my mind. But now they've really taken this high noon approach, this Western approach, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
Firefly type of thing, which is good. It's a good thing. So I'm really excited, and I hope. Like I said, Todd, I know we were talking about The Mandalorian, maybe 2023. I don't know. I hope it comes sooner.
Me too.
Because I think that's too far of a span in between for nothing Star Wars to happen. I think the only other thing that might come up before that is the Obi-Wan series, which it's all different from that timeline. So I don't know, because I'm hoping something comes soon. Now I know in a couple of weeks we'll have Moon Knight, which is going to be really good. And I'm kind of thinking of all the stuff Disney Plus is going to have coming up.
What I just read on season 3 was it is expected in 2022, but no firm dates, and it began shooting this past October.
Oh, okay, good.
So about 4 or 5 months ago.
That
Oh, okay.
Mandalorian?
Yes, Mandalorian season
good.
3.
Yeah,
Does that usually
already
take
started
about
shooting.
Because that's a long time before seeing.
So depending on COVID delays, because COVID's been kind of a thing over the last couple of months. Depending on COVID delays, they could be almost done shooting.
Could be. Well, I don't have anything else to lend to all of this. You guys have any final thoughts about all of this and where it might be going? By any chance?
Do they extend the Book of Boba Fett past this season?
That's a good question. Or I don't know if they'll. I don't know.
I guess that's more of a question for next episode, huh?
But no, that's a good question. I kind of feel like, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I think maybe he becomes a cameo. Maybe he becomes more of an added person in the different stories. I kind of think that, because I think at this point, except for him trying to keep power, if you want to continue the story of Fett keeping power, but I think that
on a sand planet and like that's it. Like, because he's not going to go anywhere.
I don't think the story. Yeah, I don't think the story will go anywhere there. It'd be almost like the the monster of the week, kind of deal, and not a story arc. So
could it morph into the Bounty Hunter Wars?
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, it could be. I don't know.
We're starting to see more bounty hunters, because now we got Boba Fett, Black Chrysanthemum, and then Cad Bane. Who else are we going to see show up? Like, we could Bounty Hunter Wars. We could definitely bring in some more bounty hunters.
Maybe the Pike may show up some more bounty hunters in this last episode. Maybe that's kind of their thing, like the Westerns. They hired the gunslingers. Rob Morris says let's bring Rob. Yeah, Rob says I thought it might be more than one series, but with the last 2 episodes, I feel like it's just a long way to remind us that the Mandalorian is still there waiting. So I hear what you're saying. That's kind of what I've been thinking. But I mean, they totally can. That's the thing about
Bounty
this universe.
Hunter Wars could be a good option.
It could be a good option. And so
I can see that. And I don't think they would call it the Book of Boba Fett. I think they would call it something else, with Boba Fett being kind of the main guy.
Kind of the main character.
Unless they call it like the Book of Boba Fett Bounty Hunters, or, Book of Boba Fett, Hunter Bounty Hunter Wars or something. But like I think that would be too much, because the Book of Boba Fett's already a mouthful. And so you're trying to add something else onto it. It's just too much.
But I think it has to, if they do it, I think it has to be different enough from The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And right now, the first 5 episodes were significantly different than anything we saw in Mandalorian.
Yeah.
The last 2 episodes have not been.
Yeah. Yeah.
So... I think if it's something significantly different, I think it could really work. I would love to see it. Bounty Hunter Wars would be a great option.
Yeah, it would be.
I think so too. Yeah,
and that's the right timeline.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be slightly after the Battle of Jabba's palace.
Oh, that's right. Well, Ricky, tell everybody where they can find us and our.
You can find us on social media at Speaking Nerdy. And you can also find all of our social links and links to our YouTube channel at speakingnerdy.com.
Yeah, thank you for everybody for joining us. We will be back next week, Friday, 8 p.m. Central, Eastern, 9 o'clock Eastern, Eastern time. We're going to talk about the finale,
7,
actually.
The
finale 7. So watch your Boba Fett and come and be part of the discussion. And
write in on your Rancor, and we'll see what happens.
Hey, we hadn't seen that yet. So
I know. We need to see it.
What do you think about that, monkey? Monkey. I love petting my monkey.
Oh, we're out of here. This has been the Speaking Nerdy podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
And my good friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Poe. Bad monkey. You the bad monkey.
Stop it. Just